What are we discussing on today's Locked On Diamondbacks podcast? Well, it's crossover time with Locked On Padres host Javier discussing, was the Tokyo series unfair to the Chicago Cubs? And best case, worst case scenario for each NL West squad.
You are Locked On Padres, your daily San Diego Padres podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
On today's podcast, crossover time with Javier of Locked On Padres discussing best case, worst case scenario, the Tokyo series, and so much more. So let's get into it. And speaking of Javier, there he is. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good. Just thriving. Out here, we're very close to finally the start of the regular season. You and I are very excited for the absolute nuclear war that is about to kick off in the NL West. I'm very excited, and it's kind of cool that we actually literally have baseball games going on. After talking for because you and I, we host a show every day. It just I'm always just like, oh my god, okay, finally, it's actually starting. I feel like we've done enough shows to feel fill up an entire season's worth already. I can't even speak. But we're finally there, and I'm super amped. I think it's going to be a really fun year, man.
Yeah, it's actually fun. When you go on Google, type in MLB standings, you will actually see real live standings. Dodgers 2-0, Cubs 0-2, sadly. And that's actually where I want to start, Javi, because we're both big anime guys. And I got to say, the marketing for this series has not been phenomenal. We've seen some Demon Slayer stuff. I think there's like a little Pokemon trainer, little video.
Little Pikachus. They had little Pikachus wobbling on the field.
Like the marketing, the promotion, all the content I've seen has been absolutely fantastic. But the question I want to know is, has this series been unfair to the Chicago Cubs? Because this is basically a home series. Yes, I know it's in Japan, but this is basically a home series for the Dodgers. You go out there, everyone's rocking Dodgers blue. You got the Otani, the Yamamotos, you got the Roki Sasakis. Like, they are already the Japanese all-star team here in America. And so now they're like a traveling show just going back home. And it's like, they're loaded with talent. They didn't need this full spring training. It's like you have 15 Cy Young Award winners. You got 22 MVPs. Like, it doesn't matter who your roster is. They're going to go and throw out superstars. But for the Cubs, they're like, listen, we just had to cut our spring training short by 2 weeks so we could go play these real games in Japan against the most loaded roster of all time. I just feel like that's a little bit unfair. Why can't we just give the Cubs a little bit extra time like all the other teams? I don't know why we have to rush into these games. I love it from a marketing standpoint, but I just feel like it was just an easy way to give the Dodgers, the most expensive, the most loaded team in Major League Baseball, an easy 2-game series.
Look, man, I get it. First of all, great job doing the hater bit, as you always do. It's fantastic. Excellent work. I cannot wait for everybody to see our NOS roundtable. And I also agree, just great marketing. First of all, congratulations to Major League Baseball discovering that baseball is really popular in Japan. You know what I mean? Like, congratulations. It only took, I've known that since like 2008, frankly. Like, it's been a long time, but I feel you on that. I will say that with stars like Shoto Imanaga and Seiya Suzuki, that like the Cubs certainly have a presence, but the Shohei Ohtani thing is what's going to give them like forget. I mean, obviously great, but forget Yamamoto and Roki Sasaki for a second. I think even if those guys aren't on the team, bottom line is it's Shohei, right? I think you could have said the same thing maybe if this series was played back in 2002, 2003, if it was Mariners versus Yankees or something like that. I think it would have been majority, like just a lot of Mariners fans. So I totally feel you on that. But and again, I really just love the portrayal of the whole thing. I think it's really, really fun. I think that while maybe they messed up with the Field of Dreams thing, this is like, okay, all right, here we go. Because Japan really loves baseball, obviously. And then you have the KBO as well. Like, absolutely love baseball. And you can see in animes that they love baseball too. Like, it's literally in there. You can see a couple of ones. Cowboy Bebop has one. Assassination Classroom. I'm pretty sure this is a One Piece special, right? Like, it's just really cool to see all of it.
Yeah, even Dragon Ball Z has a couple baseball scenes if you go out there and watch it. That's some of my favorite filler scenes from the Dragon Ball series. But like you said, Ohtani is like the biggest X factor.
Yeah.
He puts his GM hat on in the offseason. He goes and he recruits his homies. Like, these are all his best friends that play on the team. Come down, Yamamoto. Come down, Roki Sasaki. And it's like, that's where like Major League Baseball and the commissioner, like, I don't need a salary cap, but if there's a way where the Dodgers aren't like a feeder system for the best players coming to Japan or coming from Japan, I think that'd be really nice. It would have been cool if Roki went and joined the other stars in the Chicago Cubs or went somewhere else, anywhere else in Major League Baseball, but the one team that did not need another Cy Young candidate in their rotation. And so the Japanese, all this is great for the sport in terms of marketing. I love going to Japan. I love seeing the crossover. Like, it's cool to see our sport travel because everyone says, like, you see all these national media shows and they're like, baseball's a dying sport. I think Cam Newton had a thing where he was like, baseball is going to be passed by the WNBA soon. Yeah. And I love the WNBA. You won't find a bigger women's basketball guy than me, but baseball is not dying, guys, where the average ticket price for opening day is like $150. Like, baseball's in a good spot right now. I don't even know where I'm going with this rant anymore.
But yeah, I get that. He got a lot of flack for that. Yeah. I think that it's just, look, that league is, when something's ascending, it doesn't ascend in one day, which is a really important factor of all this. And this, by the way, goes against people who were like, hey, the WM, nobody watches it. And it's like, we're on like year 3 and it's like nothing in year 3 has ever been a big deal. But I think that with all of this, though, I think it's a reminder, I think, as well, because, by the way, it's not just Japan. Obviously, you have a bunch of Latin countries too, all over the place. The only thing about baseball is that, yes, it can be a little bit too much. It's a little bit boring. They sometimes negate personalities, but in my opinion, it's a little bit of a reminder that baseball is slowly trending towards a direction of being like, we actually are going to celebrate how worldly this sport can be. We're going to celebrate how it can be fun. Hey, guys, stop throwing at Tatis because he swung on 3-0. None of you will look like good guys in front of all the young fans, right? You're just 70 years and up is not a coveted viewership for literally any show entertainment product in the world, unless it's like Mad Buddy, I don't even know, C-SPAN, right? Like, like that's what you want, is you want a younger audience. So I'm really excited about it. And I will say, maybe some other teams could have gone out there and spent on some of these Japanese players. That would have been nice. I'm not saying that they all could have afforded the big dog in Shohei Ohtani, but Seiya Suzuki, Roki Sasaki, guys like that. Maybe some other guys out there as well. I mean, I know he's a prospect, so it's a little bit different, but Lars Nootbaar in some degrees, right? Like, I think that it goes a little bit of a blame for a lot of teams, but you will not catch me defending the Dodgers and their fan base. That is, Millard, I saw someone saying after game 1 in the 5th inning, if they can get into the Cubs bullpen, they can maybe salvage this game. They were down by 1 run. My brother and Lord Cosmic Almighty, what are you talking about? Never use the verbiage of salvage when you're down 1-0. Ever. I saw Celtics fans complaining about how they need Kevin Durant. What is with good teams wanting? Sorry, I'm done. I
don't know why, but baseball feels more like do or die with every game and every pitch than like any other sport. Like, I remember like as a kid, like praying and it's like, I need this Adrian Gonzalez like home run here in this moment. But then it's like, there's going to be another game the very next day and the day after that and the day after that. But it feels like in baseball, especially when it's like early season, that first month, we're just living and dying with the results. But it's like, there's still 120 games left. There's still so much more of the season. So we definitely get too caught up in the moment when it comes to some of this stuff, when it comes to being reactionary. But love to see baseball growing the sport. I think when it comes to the audience, I think that's probably the biggest shift. It going from maybe not older, but maybe we're getting more international with the audience. Maybe it's not as popular in America, but I think outside of our own country, the sport continues to grow. So I think it's cool to see our sport travel to Japan and produce on a really, really high level. But now we're going to discuss, Javi, the best case, the worst case scenario for each NL West team. We'll discuss that in segment number 2. But first, I want to talk to you guys about Upwork. If I could find the overlay banner. Here we go. Because scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives business flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork could connect you with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results. I'm a freelancer myself. I love graphic design, and I've definitely been on Upwork to get some projects done. So I suggest if you want to find a great professional like moi, use Upwork as well. So visit upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's upwork.com, upwork.com to connect with the top talent and grow your business today. But hey, if you're looking to place a little wagers down on a March Madness game, then the best place to do that is going to be FanDuel, because March Madness is here and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. My favorite thing to do on FanDuel is the same game parlay. When I see the Phoenix Suns are playing, I'll take KD over on points. I'll take Booker over on points, and then give me the opponent's money line. I'm sorry, Suns fans, but that's what you got to do if you want to win some money. If you want to win some money, up to $200 of bonus bets, just put down $5, and if your bet wins, you get all that money in your pocket. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. But now let's get back to the podcast, Javi. I don't need another. And let's discuss a best case, worst case scenario for each NL West team. And let's start. It's our podcast, our crossover. Let's start with our two teams. We'll start with the San Diego Padres. Let's first start with best case scenario, because of course you got Tatis, you got Machado, you got Cease. It's easy to see the stars on this team. It's easy to see a path to being a very good regular season team and making some noise in the postseason. What do you think is the best case scenario for your own team?
I think the best case scenario, I guess let's start with just like the player outcomes, is that Tatis is Tatis again. Duh. That Jackson Merrill, I don't even think he has to take another step. If he's the same thing, or if he follows, let's give it a Julio Rodriguez type of second season where he didn't make the next leap into Mike Trout territory, but he was still like a 4.5, like nearly 5-win player. And I think lastly would just be, you repeat a lot of the success of the starting rotation last year. They had two pitchers that finished in the top 10 of Cy Young voting, which I don't think a lot of people remember, with Dylan Cease and Michael King. And they have their, if you're a big fan of the contract year narrative, that they both produce big time this year. And then Nick Pivetta is also a big time pickup. And then of course you have to hope that the rest of the depth fills out, which is a little bit of a separate thing. But I think that's basically kind of it, is basically just that all their stars perform at the usual level. Can you get enough from the bench? I don't know. I think you can, because I think at least that they have some options. There have been some years with the Padres where you have been looking at a team where Nelson Cruz and Matt Carpenter were your DH platoon, and it did not turn out very well, right? You've seen years in which Jake Marisnick was your big trade deadline move. Not your biggest one, but it was one of the trade deadline moves you had to go for, right? Like, they've had years where their lineup has just basically had no hope. This year, it's not that the left field kind of bench options are amazing. It's just we at least have a lot of candidates. Gavin Sheets might make this team. I don't know if he should, but he has like 7 home runs and 20 at bats, so he's probably going to. And then you've got Connor Joe, Jason Hayward, the latter of which is at least at minimum going to be a good defensive player. And this Padres team might have one of the best defensive outfields in the National League with Tatis, Jackson Merrill, and Jason Hayward. I know it might sound crazy to people, but it's true. Merrill winning a Gold Glove, Tatis to Platinum just a couple years ago. And they've also got Tirso Ornelas, who's been raking in spring training and has been hitting well for a while, including in the minors. So if he's just okay, right? You have Eggy Rosario, who is just a platoon beast. He absolutely destroys lefties. I think he had a 200 WRC plus against them. Don't look up his numbers against righties. I just think that overall, it's just stars performing well, health. Can you get a little bit out of Bogaerts? Sure. Just be okay. I know. It's tough out here. Yeah. I'm really scared about Bogaerts, but you can at least hope that he becomes a decent Major League Baseball player, right? Like he's going to be average. And then you basically hope, hey, make the playoffs. Anything can happen. Maybe the Dodgers, something weird happens and the Braves kick their butts. And then all of a sudden you're facing the Braves or you're facing the Phillies, the Mets, teams that are not quite as daunting in many ways. And then you just go on a run from there. I think that the other thing with both of our teams truly is just that I think that if both the D-backs or Padres were the NL Central this year, I think they easily win the division.
We're running the table.
I ain't scared of no Chicago Cubs and Pittsburgh Pirates. Oh, dynamite rotation. They still don't spend. So I'm not worried about them at all. Brewers still don't spend. I'm not worried about them. Reds a little frisky, just a little bit, just a tiny bit, but they're still on the up. They're not ready quite yet for the jump. So, man, I wish that we were the NL Central, dude. Literally either team. The Giants might win that division, honestly.
And we're not at DEFCON 1 yet, but they did make Jerry Jones miss his next start due to some elbow discomfort. They just want to be cautionary. We'll see what happens, but you don't like to, ever see anybody missing starts in spring training due to like elbow stuff, right? So wishing the best for Jared Jones because that rotation can be very good. And all the Pirates hype will fall apart if Jared Jones is not there.
The Skeens trade to like the Mets in 5 years is going to hit like crazy, man. Sorry, until I have been shown that a team actually cares about winning, I'm going to assume that your best players are going to be on another team soon. I hate to say that, but it's literally that is how currently as constituted baseball works.
Sadly, I can't push back against that point because we haven't seen any of those mid-market teams ever do anything, which is insane. But yeah, the Padres are definitely top-heavy with a lot of talent, so it's easy to make the argument for a team that was in the NL championship game or the NL championship series last season, right? Like they still got Tatis, they still got Machado, Cease, all the stars I mentioned. You got multiple guys, even a guy like Michael King, sneaky underrated when it comes to like the Cy Young odds on FanDuel. Like people really love King. So the talent is there for the Padres. But when you talk about the reverse side of the coin, the worst case scenario, I think you can also see a path where it's like, obviously, it probably starts with Bogaerts, a guy who's super expensive, who hasn't performed. But Machado had a year last season. I want to do this maybe on a podcast, the topic in the future. But if you did player A, player B, took the names off the back of the jersey, and I showed you the two numbers, both guys last year were basically 30 home runs, 100 RBIs, 118 WRC plus, and a 4 WAR. One guy was Manny Machado. The other guy was Eugenio Suarez. Either Suarez is a $40 million a year player or Manny Machado is now in the Eugenio Suarez territory. And I think that could be a concern with Machado's contract going up in the next couple years. And he's going to be paid for like another 8 years after that. Darvish is getting old. Musgrove's on Tommy John. I think it's a pretty easy path to see like the worst case scenario for the Padres, but I would rather you lay it out being the Locked On Padres host. What would happen to get the worst case scenario from your season?
Worst case scenario, we've literally seen it before, I think. So it doesn't take too much of an imagination, while some other teams, not as much, because even the D-backs, it's like, well, they got hurt. You know what I mean? They got hurt and they still won 89 games. It's whatever. For the Padres, it's basic. I don't think it would be 2023. I think it'd be more of something along the lines of 2021, because 2023 was literally only because they were like the least clutch team in like the last 25 years. Statistically, this isn't hyperbole. They literally were. So that's kind of what would have to happen. But I don't think that a clutch stat like that is going to be, they're not going to repeat the degree that they did last year in high leverage situations, but they're not going to be able to do 2023. If something, basically what would have to happen, in my opinion, is just that the depth just completely craters. Something that you saw in 21, especially, you really saw that the depth just completely fell out from underneath them. And that they're in a situation where they kind of have to trade Michael King and Dylan Cease to the trade deadline, or one of them, one or two, whatever. And then lastly, it's just that I think worst case scenario is that we're like, Fernando Tatis Jr., really good player, not a super duper star. I think that is the worst case scenario. Something that I do not think will happen. I think he's going to be very good this year, but I cannot push back passionately against people who are like, I think he's like a 5-win guy. I think that's a really good player, but we're talking like 21 and before that. And frankly, 22, when he was suspended, even still, everyone was like, this guy's Griffey. Like that was what people were saying before, especially with the swagger and all that too. Instead, that would be a little bit of a damning moment because this is a team that we don't know what the roster flexibility is going to be. They don't have the big farm system. So you kind of really need Fernando Tatis Jr. to be what he has been before, which is not just a really good player. It's more of a super duper star that can lead your organization. And then, like you said, with Manny Machado, does he decline a little bit? He's swinging at more pitches. He's not walking as much. Usually doesn't matter because he hits 30 home runs every year. But if that falls in any degree, and then lastly, forget Tatis for a second. It's Xander Bogaerts. If Xander Bogaerts is just done
again,
that is a mess. Because at least Tatis, if Tatis is like not a superstar, he's still like a fringe 4-win player last year, and he missed
he's
like
still an all-star at worst.
He's still an all-star at worst. If Bogaerts is what he's been over this last year, basically, I'm like, this guy is Carl Crawford territory when he's time with the Red Sox.
I love that call. Yeah.
Like genuinely, oh my God. And we have this guy for another like 8 years. That is the true nightmare, I say, situation for the Padres. And if they aren't able to get something for Michael King and Dylan Cease at the deadline or retain one of them, you're looking at a rotation that features Joe Musgrove, 39, 40-year-old Yu Darvish, Nick Pivetta, and I don't know who the last two spots even are. That's where things get scary.
Yeah, honestly, Bogaerts is like one of the reasons like I want term limits when it comes to MLB deals because because like if you're the Padres and it's like Bogaerts is like a duplicate season from last year, like seriously, what do you do? Like who would want Bogaerts at $25 million a year for the next 8 seasons? And it's like you're just trying to do whatever you can to salvage that situation. But it's like if you knew he was on a 5-year deal max and he had 3 years left, it's like okay, there might be a team more willing to trade for him. You'd still probably have to throw in some money, but I think it's a lot easier of a sell if he has 2-3 years left on his contract versus 7 years. And also I just think from like a fan player standpoint, it's like there's gonna be so much animosity growing between Bogaerts and like the fan base over the next 7 years if he just never is good again. Like it's just crazy. So that's why I just want term limits. Yes, it's a very political word, I guess, but I want it in MLB contract.
That's why it made me laugh. Yeah. I mean, guess what? People wouldn't disagree with you there, no matter what aisle you are on. I think people would agree with you in a lot of the situations there. So we're gonna discuss D-backs, best case, worst case scenario. But before we head into the break, I want to give a question to Padres fans. I want them to think about over this tease or over this ad break. By the end of this 2025 season, are you going to be asking yourself, who's the better Padres outfielder, Fernando Tatis or Jackson Merrill? Just think about that, Padres fans. Just think about it. And then hold on, we got another video for you guys. Here you go.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Sick. Back here on the Locked On Diamondbacks, Locked On Padres crossover. Now let's get into the D-backs and talk about their best case, worst case scenario. Because Javi, I don't know. I haven't done a bold predictions yet for this upcoming D-back season, but would it be insane if I said, why shouldn't you go on FanDuel and smash over 90 wins on the D-backs this upcoming season? They were an 89-win team last year with a rotation in shambles. If I told you Ryan Nelson was going to finish second on the team in innings pitched with a rotation of Erod, Monty, Gallen, Kelly, like you'd be like, what? What happened to the rotation? Slade Ciccone had more innings pitched than Merrill Kelly last season and Jordan Montgomery and Erod. And it's like, injuries was the reason the rotation sucked last year. This was the best offense in baseball. That's going to be a lot harder to duplicate, but you can make the real argument, at least offensively, D-backs got an upgrade at first base. It sounds insane to think Josh Naylor is going to be better than Christian Walker, but you look at the WRC plus, collectively, he's been better than Christian Walker the last 3 seasons. Josh Naylor's a real offensive player. So you can make the argument we got better at first base offensively. We upgraded the rotation. We won 89 games last year. Why shouldn't I think this is going to be like a 92, 93, maybe a 95 win D-backs team? I think it really all comes down to health. If this D-backs team has moderate to very good health, I think they're easily going to be in the postseason. So when I think about best case scenario for the D-backs, I'm looking at a top 3 offense in the National League, top 3 rotation, and probably the D-backs have, I made the argument yesterday, the best bullpen since I've at least taken over this podcast. Got flamethrowers and Puck and Martinez and Ginkel. We optioned Dre Jameson. Hopefully he'll come back up. But from a well-rounded standpoint, this is the best roster the D-backs have, I think, ever put together, potentially in their franchise history. And I think best case scenario, you could see 90-plus wins. And Dodgers are still going to take the division, but I think once we get to the postseason, they're really going to challenge them for the NL pennant.
I think you're spot on. I think as long as Josh Naylor is just, I think Christian Walker will have a better season. But if Josh Naylor is just a little bit worse, like to the point where it's a little bit of a negligible difference, I think that'll be huge. If Eugenio Suarez doesn't have that like weird 2019 season where he hit below, or 2020 season, 21, where he hit below 200 or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I think the offense is going to be good. I just think that there's too many guys in this lineup, frankly. There's too much depth. But the number one thing is just the rotation depth. I don't think any of their guys, more so than the Padres, who I would argue that King Cease is just as good, if not better, than Gallon Burnes. Mm-hmm. But they don't need that. They just need Burnes, Gallon, Kelly, Eduardo Rodriguez, Brandon Pfaadt, Jordan Montgomery to just be okay. If Jordan Montgomery, who prior to last year did not have an ERA over the past 4 seasons above 3.83, if he just fits his career norm, which is, I believe, I don't have it right now because Fangraphs, as usual, is crashing on me. But his career average is like a little bit below 3 or a little bit below 4. If all those guys are just what they usually are, that's all they need, because they have more depth currently constructed than a team like the Padres. And frankly, I think their depth in the rotation matches the Dodgers. So I'm not looking at this as Burnes needs to return to Cy Young form. I don't think he does. I think if he just does what happened last year, he'll be fine. Gallon, do what you did last year. Brandon Pfaadt, do what you did last year. As long as that rotation's healthy, I think they're going to be good. And I just don't think they're going to have crazy bad injury luck 2 years in a row. So I think that's the best case scenario for them, really.
Yeah. Quick question for you, Javi. Just looking at RotoChamp, the projected back end of the rotation for the Padres, it's Steven Kolick. I'm not too familiar with his work. Randy Vasquez. I just want to know, could you guys be a potential Jordan Montgomery destination? D-backs are adamant we're going with a 5-man rotation. Monty will not be one of those 5 starters. That would put him as a long reliever in low leverage situations. Mm-hmm. Would you mind taking a dart throw as your number 4, number 5 starter in Monty, who you keep saying good numbers prior to last season, right? Mm-hmm. Look at his career in totality. He's been a really good starter. He was the frontline starter for a World Series rotation just 2 seasons ago. So if you could get that guy as your number 4, number 5, would you do it, Javi?
I think the problem is the Padres' financial situation. Jordan Montgomery has a player option after this year, or with this year for $22 million. I think he's actually, he's an unrestricted free agent after this year. I didn't realize that.
Unrestricted free agent. What if we kicked in some money too? We paid half. We picked up half the tab on Monty.
Oh, I would be totally in on that. I mean, It's only half a season. It wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world if the Padres were like whatever. But I don't know. I just feel like it's tough, because then the D-backs would have to sell low, which would be probably now. Yeah, I don't know.
It'll be a salary dump no matter what. D-backs, I think they just want to get off Monty, I believe. And there's teams like the Yankees who just lost Garrett Cole. There's some other teams who have dealt with injuries to the rotation. It's like, why not get a guy who is really good for multiple consecutive seasons, who had an awful year, and maybe that's where his career is going. But I wouldn't mind rolling the dice on a 1 year of Jordan Montgomery.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I just think that there are worse guys to bet on. And I just don't think 6.23 is what this guy is all of a sudden. And look, there's a world where the D-backs, some things go wrong. Basically, it would have to be the same thing as last year, that their rotation falls apart, and that Corbin Carroll struggles again, and that Eugenio Suarez struggles, and Josh Naylor, and some of these guys, and that Ketel Marte isn't able to stay healthy. It's kind of boring to just say health is the issue, but it really does feel like that, man. Like, I cannot really find too many issues with this team. I can't say bullpen, because I think they got a lot of guys you could just throw out there. We're going to throw some heat. And yes, bullpen could go wrong, but it could go wrong for a lot of teams. So I'm not really looking into that. I love it, man. I think they'd be very good. What about you?
Yeah, we love the D-backs and we can't wait for the season to start. Unfortunately, we're probably out of time for today's podcast to break down. Oh man, I wonder where we thought the Dodgers were gonna finish. Oh, too bad we can't talk about them. I wonder where we thought the Colorado Rockies were gonna finish. Oh,
Giants though. The Giants, just real quick, best corner infield, not impossible. You get defensive freaks in Adames and Chapman. Jung-Ho Lee was a star potential player. He basically didn't play enough last year. If Robbie Ray is anything, I think the best case scenario for the Giants might be like Robbie Ray balls out and then they can flip him for some stuff. I think that could happen.
Flip him.
Yeah, like trade.
He's going to be on their playoff rotation.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. He would be on their playoff rotation. My mistake.
The Giants are my dark horse team this season. They're my Kansas City Royals this year. Like how Kansas City snuck in last year. That's going to be the Giants for me this year. I think I talked about it maybe on our NL West roundtable. We'll see coming up. But I do think the Giants are going to be right there in the wild card mix. I think they're going to be right there potentially with your team fighting for that third wild card. I really believe in the Giants as a sneaky team this year. But that's the NL West for you. Loaded and stacked. It's going to be a fun division, and we are only about a week away now from opening day. Javi, where can the listeners find you online?
As always, at Javapeno on Twitter /X and Blue Sky, JAVIIPENO. Go check that out. Have my other podcast that I'm going to be ramping up to. We're going to be doing our silly predictions episode this next coming week, I believe, is when it'll be out, which is really fun. You could go check out last year's version where I predict dumb things like someone will mispronounce Roki Suzuki's name, just something like that. And I was wrong on that one, but whatever. You could check that out. Baseball versus the World. And
did you get any right though? Did you get any silly predictions right on the podcast last year?
I think I got like one right. I got to go check it up actually, because I still haven't prepped my notes for the next one that we're doing, but I did a crazy one. Like I think I predicted that like Derek Jeter would like the slander would continue. I forgot what it was. I gotta go find it, but those are a lot of fun, and I'll have more info on that.
Yeah, you might need to do like a year later check-in to see how your predictions.
Yeah, we're gonna do that on this one with my trusted co-host who will be on for that one. Just love doing dumb predictions. And frankly, with some stuff that happened in the baseball world today, don't worry, I won't get that sinister and malicious and not even malicious, just dark with them. Don't worry, but anything could happen is basically what I'm saying in our world today. So very exciting, man. And then we'll have some opening day. I wish we were playing each other opening day though.
I know.
It's disappointing. I don't like it.
Actually we get to face the Cubs coming back from Japan. They're going to be jet lagged. It's going to be amazing. Thank you, Major League Baseball. For the Locked On D-backs listeners, if you want to find me online at CareerThomas24 for the personal account, Locked On Diamondbacks, both Twitter and Instagram for the podcast handle. We're Locked On Diamondbacks wherever you stream podcasts. Of course, check out Locked On Diamondbacks, Locked On Padres on YouTube. I'm checking out the D-backs schedule right now to see the first time D-backs Padres play each other. Doesn't look. Is this accurate? Is it June? Is that the first time?
Is it really?
No way. Hold on.
We're just because I know Dodgers is also the Padres are playing them for a while, if I'm not mistaken.
That's kind of
weird. That's kind of sick. I like that actually, because then by then, hopefully, we'll see like all the teams are good. So we'll be like, okay, WrestleMania, like let's get the big showdown going. That's
June
really
13th. That's insane though. June 3rd, like we're over 2 months into the season, and it'll be the first time playing a division opponent. I have to go look now. I want to see if there's like any duplicate opponents that we play outside the division before we play you guys even one time. Because I mean, how do we go from the sport where we play our division too much, and now it's 3 months later and we're playing the Padres for the first time? It's like, hey,
I get it. You can't have everything, but it's funny because I appreciate that we play every team at least once. But that is really funny that we have to wait all that way. And I know for the Padres, it gets a little bit wild at the end because we finish off against the D-backs for the year. Do not be surprised, folks, if that might determine a spot. Maybe not between those two teams, but maybe the D-backs are fighting to get in or the Padres are fighting to get in. It would not surprise me in the slightest if that's what it comes down to.
Man, that's going to be a good time. I can't wait for that, though. Let's get through the rest of the regular season before the final series of the year. That's it for this edition of the Locked On Diamondbacks, Locked On Padres crossover. Until next time, fans.